Hi everyone, Harry here, and in this video I'd like to give you a quick walkthrough of a utility I'm working on called Tidy. It does just that. It tidies your project using various methods that you can either use as presets or you can custom define. So let me jump in here and show you the deceptively simple interface for Tidy. In fact, there's a little collapse button right here. And once you get everything configured, your UI can really just be you keeping this tidy button handy. And what happens when I click it is that it will tidy your project. And it puts it into a folder structure that is using a preset right here. It's got, will ship with, I think, these 5 presets. We'll see. But these are all user customizable. But let me just walk through this default setting of standard and what that does. In fact, let me pull up the preset data so you can see exactly what's going on. These presets use essentially a JSON structure for what's going on here. So we define various types of compositions and we can define a hierarchy of composition. And right now, although you can customize the name, right? This doesn't have to be called render comps. This could be, we could call this output comps, or whatever. These are your top level, not nested anywhere else compositions. These are assumed to be the ones that you're actually going to be rendering or outputting. If I run this again, pull up my standard preset and click on tidy, now it's called output comps. If it is a composition, then we are defining it as a comp. And then is it a render comp, a main comp, or a pre-comp? I could change this name nomenclature for the release, but this is just what I'm using right now. It could be top level, second level, third level, or however we end up naming it. But right now it's just a hierarchy. So render comp is the topmost in the hierarchy. It's not nested anywhere else. Main comps are nested not just once, but only nested one level deep. So let's say I have multiple comps and I put them into another comp that have the final audio and some final color correction or whatever. And so I've only nested it one level deep. That would essentially be a main comp, right? That's where you're probably doing all of the work. And then pre-comps, we all know what pre-comps are. Like they could be shared multiple times. It could be nested 4 or 5 different times. Pre-comps come in all different varieties. So that is the folder structure. And we can sort by various things. We can sort by resolution. We can sort by aspect. So if you have render or output comps that are perhaps social media focused and you've got a 1x1 version, you've got 4x5 version, 16x9 version. Did I say 1x1? Anyway, whatever the aspect is, it will automatically sort that. So if I go into this isn't actually sorting by aspect, so let's set this to true. And then let me just duplicate comp 1 here and call this comp 1x1. It's not actually doing a name match, but let's set this to 1920, or let's set it to 1080 by 1080 and run tidy again. Well, actually, sorry, I gotta reload the script here. I should actually have a refresh button there, but click on tidy. And now, let's see, HD. So now we have 16x9 comps, and now we have square. It's interesting that it calls it square. It should be 1x1, but same thing. And what else do we have in here? Sort by tag, I'll cover in just a little bit. That gets a little more complicated. So you can sort by resolution, aspect, as well as the comp structure that I just mentioned earlier. Diving down the list a little bit further, we have assets, and assets can also be sorted by, well, again, tag, which I'll cover in a little bit. Resolution, type, audio, video, image sequence, 3D, data, like a JSON or XML or whatever, and by format, so MOV, JPEG, PSD, or whatever. So if I open up assets, we should see that we've got audio, and then in there, I've got a wave file, and video. I've got 2 different types of videos. I've got MP4s, and I've also got one MOV. If I set the sort by format to false, it would just put all of the MP4s and MOVs into the same video folder. Lastly, we have to have one defined solids folder. Don't go making presets with multiple solids folders because it just won't do anything. That's the bulk of how it works fundamentally. Now let's talk about tags, and I'm going to launch a different project here. No, we don't need to save that. Okay, so let's say you're working on a project that has lots of different types of assets that you've imported. You've got lens flares and green screen footage and all that type of stuff. So by default, if I click on Tidy, and I've got all this footage here, and for some reason, it's not sorting that last file. More testing to do. So it put my image sequence into an image sequence folder and put all my video into a video folder. Great. And it threw all of the stuff into one folder, which, well, I could start manually sorting these things. However, I'm going to undo that. Or actually, you know, what I'm going to do is untidy the project, which you can do by holding Alt or Option. And it just throws everything back at the root level. Sort these. And let's say I want to tag all this green screen footage as, well, as green screen. So I'm going to go to the Tidy Tag Manager and start tagging things. What this does is it creates a composition to store all of our data. This composition is called tag data. This way, it's not stored in an external file. After Effects doesn't really have an internal metadata structure other than XMP data, which doesn't really seem very user-friendly to work with. It's only for footage. Comments right here in the project are also not scriptable. So the only thing that's really scriptable are labels. And that's just not a very, it's just not a very flexible thing. So maybe someday we'll have a better solution for this. But right now I'm using a composition called tag data. And then strangely, the comment field in the comp is actually scriptable. So we throw the tag right in there. So let me select all my green screen footage. Go over here. Actually, I have in my favorites, green screen raw and apply tag. So it puts all those items into the composition. Now let's say you want to tag the compositions that are actually the keyed footage. So I can tag comps as well. So I can go in here with these selected compositions. I could say green screen keyed, apply tag. This is all lightning stuff. These are clips, I believe, from Action VFX. So I can go into VFX elements. I think there's lightning in here. There it is, apply tag. And I think I have a couple others, like this is a lens flare, so I'll throw a tag on that. There we go. So now in Tidy, in my standard preset, you might have noticed as I was talking that there is a sort by tag. So our comps can be sorted by tag and our assets can also be sorted by tag, and those are both set to true. So when I click on Tidy, in my assets folder, anything that is tagged with green screen keyed just goes in this folder. Green screen raw just goes in there. And when you use a tag, it doesn't sort it into subfolders. It didn't really seem very useful that if you were specifically going through the hassle of tagging things and to sort it into its own folder, that to further subdivide it into MOV, MP4, aspect ratio, all that kind of stuff didn't really seem very helpful. But if you think that is helpful, let me know, because we can always put it back in. The image sequences were not tagged, so it just goes into an image sequence folder, and then that one lens flare I tagged goes in here, and then the lightning stuff goes in there. Pretty cool. In addition, the tag manager also has a little bit of functionality in that, let's say I tagged all these green screen raw comps, and let's say I want to send all these to the render queue. So green screen raw, all these comps right here, I can click on queue and it throws them all into the render queue. Pretty cool. I think that's really about it for the tag manager. I am working on a preset editor. And this is just one of those things that's just one more complicated thing to try to work with. And it's, you know, the first 10% of the development time is what you'll do with it 90% of the time, and then the rest of the 90% of the development time is what somebody might do 10% of the time, which is like set everything to a solids folder or goofy stuff like that. So hopefully we'll get the preset editor. There's also a log here just for diagnostic purposes, and especially early on if people are helping me test this, this log right here might actually be quite helpful. And I think that really about covers it. That's Tidy, hopefully coming within the next couple weeks. Just needs a lot of testing and user feedback. So if you can tell me what you think, any feature suggestions or how useful you think it might be, let me know. Thanks, everybody. Hope you have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll see you soon.